Welcome back to Harmonize Your Life, Conversations on Self-Care for Women of Color podcast with your host, Dr.Toni G. Alvarado. I am so excited to continue these podcast conversations through the month of March, as we are still yet in Women's History Month. We've had some intriguing conversations already this month around women supporting women, and this week's podcast conversation is going to be a real blessing to us as we delve into the idea or the topic of self-care for women in politics. As we celebrate Women's History Month, I think it is important that we celebrate women not only from our from history or from our past and the accomplishments that women have made, but it's always good to herald the accomplishments that women are yet making and to celebrate the women who are putting it on the front line every day for us, and certainly in public service, in serving in our political arena. We have so many women that we can celebrate and be thankful for during Women's History Month. And so I'm excited about our guests who will be coming to us today, and I'll share who they are when we're done with our introduction. But I just want to thank you for hanging with us through this month. It's going to be we're going to continue to have an intriguing month of podcast conversations. Listen, I want you to make sure that you are subscribed to my YouTube channel with Dr. Toni G. Alvarado. If you're not already subscribed, do so. We need you to do so. We're on our way. We're over 500. Thank you. Yay. We're over 500 subscribers, and our next benchmark is 1,000 subscribers. And listen, when you subscribe to my YouTube channel, what you do is you help these conversations go up in the Google search engine, in the analytics, and it helps so that when women and men who are looking for information, inspiration, motivation around self-care, health, wellness, mental health, fitness, nutrition, all the things that make for a harmonious lifestyle, these conversations will go up, and they don't have to search 3 and 4 and 5 pages down in Google to find us, because you have been listening, you have been commenting, and you have been sharing these podcast conversations. So do me a favor. I know some of you are listening on Spotify, and we want you to do that, but we really, really, really need to grow our YouTube channel, and you help us by watching, by commenting, and sharing, and subscribing to this podcast on YouTube. All right. So I want you to get ready for another intriguing conversation. I'll be right back with my next 2 guests right after this. All right. Well, I again am so happy to have 2 women who are serving in our Georgia legislature here, and I have invited them on to talk about the subject of self-care for women in politics. And I can say in the 4 years, this month makes 4 years that we have been doing these podcast conversations through on the Harmonize Your Life podcast. We started in 2020, right in March 2020, right at the beginning of the pandemic. We had already begun preparing for this podcast in 2019 and preparing to launch it in March of 2020. And little did we know when we were planning in 2019 that we would be in a full all the way in concerning a global pandemic when these podcast conversations were launched. And I immediately panicked for a minute because I wasn't sure how this was going to go over. And then I realized that God does all things well. And so we launched this podcast right in the middle of a pandemic, right when people needed to hear, get more information, inspiration, and motivation around health and wellness and self-care. And it proved to be a right. Our podcast conversations proved to be right on time for what we sense God was calling us to do. And I have to say, in the 4 years that we've been hosting these conversations, this is the first time we've had women who are serving in our political arena to come on. We've had doctors and lawyers and financial gurus. We've had fitness professionals, mental health professionals, nutritionists, you name it. We've had them on here. We've had your everyday woman on here sharing her journey, her self-care, and her health and wellness journey. But this is our first time inviting women who are serving in public service in this arena, in our political arena, to come on and have this conversation with us. And I'm so delighted to bring to you today two dynamic women serving in Georgia, and that is in the person of Representative Shelly Hutchinson, who serves in the Georgia House. Born and raised in New Orleans, her family and faith instilled in her values of honesty, commitment, and leadership at a young age. She was raised in a Catholic home and church, with most of the New Orleans traditions revolving around their faith. After graduating from LSU with a BA in criminal justice, Shelly then moved to Atlanta and met her husband. And in 2000, she graduated from UGA with a master's in social work, the same year that she and her husband welcomed their first child. Shelly began her lifelong career in social services and child welfare by working for Fulton County DFCS. But in 2002, Shelly founded the Social Empowerment Center, a mental health and social services outreach and treatment center in Lawrenceville, Georgia. After being recognized by the Bulldog 100 as the number one fastest growing businesses owned or operated by UGA alumni in 2014, Shelly also landed a job as a part-time professor at the UGA School of Social Work. As the chairperson of the local interagency planning team and the Children in Need of Services Committee, Shelly assists local leaders in providing access to unconventional services for children in need of behavioral health services. She is an active alumni from UGA, and since 2019, she has proved to serve as the state representative for Georgia House 106, previously known as District 107. As a Eucharistic minister, lector, and volunteer, she has maintained those traditional Catholic roots in Gwinnett County along with her family. Her children have been altar service since they were in elementary school. She is proud of her children's academic success and attributes it to Gwinnett County Public Schools, where they both graduated from Brookwood High School. Welcome, Shelly, Representative Shelly Hutchinson, to the Harmonize Your Life podcast.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me.
I'm excited that we're going to get our conversation going right after I announce this other dynamic servant in the person of my sister, my soror, my friend, another fellow minister of the gospel. She is enthusiastic, strong, motivated, and visionary. Senator Tonya P. Anderson was elected to the state Senate to represent Georgia's 43rd district in 2016. Senator Anderson's district includes parts of DeKalb, Rockdale, and Newton counties. And DeKalb, Rockdale, from which I live, she is my state senator, and I'm proud to own her as my state senator. Prior to serving as a state senator, she served as the first state representative for House District 92. Prior to serving she served as a city councilwoman and mayor for the city of Lithonia, Georgia. Her love for helping others shines through her public service, and in the Senate, she serves on the following committees: reappropriation, redistricting, economic development and tourism, regulated industries, the Veterans, Military, and Homeland Security Committee, banking and financial institutions, March MARTOC, Public Transit Oversight Committee. Senator Anderson is chair emeritus of the Georgia Legislative Black Caucus, and recently she was elected by her peers to serve as the president for the National Organization of Black Elected Legislative Women. Her term began in January 2024 for that position. She is the author of and champion of a bipartisan criminal justice reform bill, Senate Bill 288. This bill allows for the restriction and sealing of criminal records of most misdemeanor and some felony convictions. Senator Anderson is an ordained minister, a life coach, consultant, motivational speaker, mentor, and a proud active member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. All right. Thank you so much for being on with us, Senator Soror Tonya P. Anderson.
Thank you so much for having me. I've been looking forward to this for a couple of weeks now, and I thank you for your patience as our schedule at the Capitol has been very hectic, but thank you for grace and more grace.
Well, I'm so excited. And, you know, Senator Anderson, I recently had an opportunity to spend a day with you at the Capitol, and it was so eye-opening. I mean, you know, I've been, and it wasn't my first time being at the Capitol. I actually kind of was reminiscing when I first moved to Georgia. When I moved here, Zell Miller was the governor, right? So I've been here 35 years, moved here from Chicago, Illinois at the age of 25. And so I've been here 35, probably 36 years now. This is my 36th year living in Georgia. When I moved here, Zell Miller was the governor. And I remember being invited to the Capitol to sing by the late Reverend Jackie Beavers. I don't know if you remember him. And he was serving there in the House, and he invited me to sing for the governor with some Black History program or something. And I sang the national anthem and the national Black African American anthem, Lift Every Voice and Sing, right? And so then when I was there with you, my mind just kind of went back all those many years ago. And I was like, wow, it was like a full circle moment for me. And I was there with you for our AKA day at the Capitol. You invited me to speak in the Senate chamber, and I appreciate that opportunity. But being there with you and watching you work was very eye-opening. And I made a commitment that day to spend more time at the Capitol as a citizen, to spend more time and to really, really engage more with what's happening in our public arena, in our political arena. As a pastor, you know, we often engage with our, I believe that God has always called every king to walk with a priest, or every priest to walk alongside a king. Mm-hmm. And so, but I believe that God is calling us to even infiltrate even more. And I want to thank both of you for your service, because you don't have to do it, right? Mm-hmm. Both of you are well accomplished and could have been doing anything, but you chose this word. And so that leads me into our first, this kind of opening up our conversation for you both to kind of share what inspired you for this work in the Georgia Legislature. If you both can reflect on your political activities and how it aligns with your overall with your values and your overall sense of purpose.
All right, who goes first?
You can go first.
You can go first, Representative.
Well, thank you for the question. And honestly, when I ran for my first race in 2018. And it was because I woke up in November of 2016 and Trump was president-elect. And I thought to myself, I've got to do more or better or something different, because the world is just going in the opposite direction that we really needed to go. So when I went to a new candidate training class, and they said, whatever you do, when somebody asks you why you ran, don't say I ran because of Trump. But 100%, I ran because of Trump. If it was not for Trump getting elected in 2016, I would have never even thought about it. So I said, well, okay, the guy who's been representing us has been representing us for 16 years. Nobody knew his name. He was a very, very conservative Republican, very conservative. And I said, well, you know, the very least I can do is give him some competition, because he ran unopposed every single time.
Okay.
So I said, okay, I'm just gonna put my name in. And then I got involved in it, and I learned that you can't just put your name in. You have to put the work in, and I did that. The guy who I was proposing to run against decided when I signed up that he was going to retire, and got his neighbor to run against me. And I knew that the district had changed, that our values had changed, and that we were just not okay with all the conservative shenanigans that he was doing. Mm-hmm. And I won by 18 percentage points against somebody who never even had competition. And there was the assumption that everyone he represented felt the way that he did, and it was absolutely the opposite.
Wow.
Absolutely the opposite. So every year I've won since then, and by double digits every time. So my constituents must like what I'm doing. And today, both me and Senator Anderson were reelected, since nobody signed up to run against either one of us.
You know what something you said, and I will come back to that, but you said something about the assumptions that people made. Mm-hmm. And I think that is so important, particularly because we're going into another presidential we're in a presidential election cycle, right? Yes. And so I think it is important that we recognize that, we can't assume either way.
No.
Right. And so, what I really appreciate about what you said was you didn't like what you saw happening, and so you got in the game. That's True. What I hear you just be saying. And Absolutely. So many people don't like what they see, but they want to sit on the sideline and talk about it, but not put their money where their mouth is or get in the game.
And I want to say that just because you said I'm in a group in Gwinnett County of Black women in a Facebook group, and somebody posted about how there were checkpoints all around Gwinnett County this week looking for DUIs or documentation or licenses or whatever. And they said, "What is going on? Why are we all of a sudden seeing these checkpoints?" I said, "Because we passed an egregious bill this week, and it was basically, if you're familiar with 287G." Which is an immigration policy that we got rid of in Gwinnett County because we elected a new sheriff. Now it's going to be statewide, and we're going to start just seeing more checkpoints supposedly for immigration. But best believe our children are going to be pulled over, and our children are going to everybody's children are going to feel the results of this. Not to mention that the whole policy is wrong to begin with, but local politics, they suck in everybody. Not just the target audience. The target audience was wrong in the first place, but now everybody's going to suffer. And my point.
Which bill is that?
I forget the number. I don't know if Senator Anderson remembers the number, but it was a bill about immigration.
Okay, an immigration bill.
But it's a House bill?
I think so. Yes, it was.
It hasn't gotten to us yet.
Oh, that's right. It has not.
It hasn't gotten to us yet. So it hasn't passed. But it probably does need to be on the prayer list.
Absolutely.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. And see, these are things we need to know about, right? Mm-hmm. Especially because sometimes, when we go to the polls and these amendments and things are on the ballot, with a lot of people, and I'm guilty of not really knowing what has happened before or what it really means. And so we just kind of pushing buttons and not really knowing what we're voting for or not voting for.
Yes, absolutely. And I have to say, before I was elected, I was in the same boat. I was voting every time, but I didn't know. I knew probably who was running for president or governor, but I didn't do my research. Now I do. I have to. And it's something that I realize now the importance of. So when I do the research and when I have to do the research, I'm thinking about more of the kids down the line, my next door neighbor's kids. I'm a recent empty nester. I've raised my kids, but I understand that there's way more than my kids in this county.
Okay.
And that's who I'm looking out for, because these decisions are going to make their lives miserable at some point. So, we have to look at the totality of it. And now I realize the local politics has actually affected kids and families more than a presidential or a gubernatorial election. Well, gubernatorial, yes. But
and that's so important because on all levels, laws and policies that are being made now, some of us are not even going to live through those policies. And so it'll be our kids and our grandchildren and great grandchildren that may have to deal with some of these things. And so people are making decisions on things that our young people will have to live through. And that's so important that we consider that as we elect people.
Absolutely.
So Senator Tonya, will you share a little bit about what inspired you?
Well, I started in local politics in 2006, and it is almost, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm saying this, 2026. In a couple of years, I will have 20 years in public service. So I started out as a city councilwoman, and I really did not want to. I'll tell you, I have a book coming out, but I'll give you the highlights of it. I didn't want to be in politics ever in my life. I was in the military as a Air Force reservist, and I was in seminary because I was on my way to officer school to be an Air Force chaplain. And while I was in seminary, I got elected to this city council. And it was such a pull on my heart and in my spirit that I was like, you know what, God, I really don't want to do this, but you're asking me. And okay, all right, I'll do it. But if I run and lose, yay, because then I get to still follow my path and my plan. I'm going to be obedient, but I'm praying that you allow me to have my plan to stay in the military and be a Air Force chaplain. Well, that term, I didn't even complete a full term. Became mayor in my senior year of seminary. I became mayor of the city.
Oh wow!
So God and I had really had some things to talk about. He wasn't listening to me, but I had so much to say to him. And I said, okay, I did it one time. Can you just please leave me alone? He was like, I need you to run. I ran again. And it was because there really was a need. So during that time, our elections got a little scruffy, roughy, scrappy, that the incumbent lost after 12 years. The 12-year incumbent lost. And so the current mayor ran, and of course he won. And the candidate for mayor ran and he won. Actually, he's from Shelly's home state of Louisiana. He ran and won, and it just disrupted it was like a domino effect. Everybody quit the council. It was bad. So he came to my job. I was working in the city, came to my job and asked me to run because of, where I worked and how well it was run.
Mm-hmm.
I ran, he lost, and then I had to run. I was still in my seat and had to run for pro tem, which is vice mayor. Mm-hmm. Our mayor at that time got impeached, and then I became the interim mayor.
Wow.
Interim mayor, and I'm still I had just graduated in May. I'm interim mayor in July and August, and I was interim mayor for a month or so. And then October, I had to resign my seat and actually run. And so I said to God again, all right, God, I'm going to do this. But if I lose, yay, I still get to be Air Force chaplain, right? You're going to give me that? Aren't you going to give that to me? Apparently he said no. And what happened is the city was it was not well. It was not a healthy situation. And my dad and mom enrolled me into the NAACP at 8 years old. So my brother's calling me and he's saying, could you imagine that after all those years of being in the NAACP, that this will really matter at this point? And I said, no. I was in the NAACP when we were watching the documentaries at meetings of Keep Your Eyes on the Prize, the civil rights, the voting rights. So it's almost, next year will be 60 years of the Voting Rights Act, and this year is 50 years of the Civil Rights Act.
Yeah.
So I never thought that would even matter or mean anything to me, because we were 8 years old. We were kids. We were in the back of the room like you play in church, and we were laughing at, some of the things, and some of the things we took seriously. But my dad always said, if you're not going to get involved, don't complain.
Wow.
And I was in that state of complaining, and
if
I had to
not going to get involved. Don't complain.
Don't complain. And he's still living by the grace of God. Thank you, Lord. And he's still living at 91. And he still says to me all the time, you got to get involved. You can't stand by and wait for something to happen. You have to be the person who makes things happen. And so once I got involved, I was still uneasy because this is what I said to God. Preaching and politics doesn't go together. It just doesn't go together. Why did I say that? Because people have made politics a very ugly thing. And he said the government will be on his shoulder. So he had to have a Sunday school lesson with me and say, little girl, remember Sunday school? Remember all the Bible stories? Remember all those things that you learned? Remember what you're learning now in seminary? I graduated in May, and in November, I was the mayor. And it still was not settled in my spirit that this goes together. And then when I ran for mayor, I ran for re-election, did not win. And I said, okay, God, I'm free. He said, no, you're not. A brand new seat was drawn. And I wrestled with him just like Jacob. I don't know what Jacob's level of wrestling was, but mine was a wrestle. And I said, God, I cannot do this. I don't want to do this. I want to go home, meaning away from this political space. And I want to just be a wife. I want to teach Sunday school. And I want to sing in the choir. That's really all I ever wanted to do. Hello, somebody. And I can marry a husband that ain't a preacher. We can just teach Sunday school together. Right. Can you please just grant that to me? And he said, no. The night before, this is the second time I had done this. The night before qualifying, I was up till 3 a.m. with a girlfriend who is so spiritually strong and not even a member of my church, of a church that I ever attended. And she said, I called her and I said, I need you to pray with me, Veronica. I need you to pray with me. And she said, God is saying, do it. If you can find the money, God says do it. And I'm making all of these excuses. Oh, we just got married. We can't do this. We can't do that. We're passing around the church. We're putting our money there. I thought of every excuse in the world. Now, this is the second time I've done this. The first time was when I ran for city council. I waited 30 minutes before the deadline to qualify. So I didn't want to ever do this. The second time when I ran for state representative, I waited 30 minutes before the deadline. And I didn't even want to tell my husband. I told him the night before. I was up all night. I went to bed at 3 and I probably slept 2 hours. I woke up at 5 when he woke up, and God was saying, you got to tell him. So I said, okay, God is telling me that I need to run for this seat. And I was like, wanted to sink into the bed. It's like sink into the mattress. So if he said no, I can spring forth with a shout of hallelujah. Well, he said, you
did not get off the hook.
Hello.
You didn't get off the hook. He said,
go to the bank, get the money. If God is telling you to do this, do it.
Wow.
I get to the Capitol 30 minutes before the deadline, and I walk in the door. I get to the door. I'm sitting in my car the first 30 minutes. The last 30 minutes, I walk to the door, and I get to the door, and I saw somebody qualifying that I was like, oh, this person is absolutely nasty, and I'm not getting in this race. And I called my husband. I said, such and such is here qualifying. He was like, okay, what does that mean? You said God told you to do it. So I grabbed my little money order, honey, and I walk inside to get my paperwork. By this time, a young lady is calling me who does nothing but campaigns. And she says, walk in the door, ask for this person. They'll help you fill out your paperwork. The first thing, I didn't ask to help me fill out with paperwork. I said, is this person running for the seat I'm running for? He said, no. I said, whoo, thank you, Jesus. So I filled up my paperwork, paid my money, and the rest is history. I got in a race in May. People who had been in the race, who had already qualified and made their announcements in January. I got in the race in May and got in with five women, made it to a runoff and won. And I said, okay, God. Still, when it was time to run for Senate, I was like, God, come on, for real. Like, can we just stop doing this? Let me go home. Now I'm a pastor's wife. Can I just still teach Sunday school and still lead worship?
No.
And I'm going to tell you what he said to me before I left the House of Representatives. I walked into the ante room, into our break room, and the representative is still there, Representative Hutchinson. And I walked in, and he walked into the ante room, to a break room, to grab something to drink or eat, which is where I gained my first 15 pounds. After marriage, it wasn't because I got married. It wasn't because the church folk was really feeding us. It was because I was in that ante room, and they call it a freshman 15. So I walk in the ante room and I grabbed something, and this representative walked up to me and said, "What is a nice lady like you doing in a place like this?"
Oh, wow.
And it gripped my heart, and I was like, I couldn't even say the word, "See, God, I told you." No, it gripped my heart so much. I said, it was a Selah moment. I went and sat down in my seat, and I didn't move for the rest of the day because I was gripped. The Holy Spirit had just gripped me. I sat in my seat. I was in the third or fourth row, and I sat in my seat, and I said, "Okay, God, really, what am I doing here? Really, what am I doing here?" And he said, "You are light and salt. I called you to be light and salt.
God called you to be
Darkness cannot leave until light appears. And if you're going to be light, be light. I put you here to be light."
See, now you're preaching. See, now you're preaching.
I never questioned him again. When I got to the Senate, and that whole time I was there in the House, didn't get a bill passed, couldn't think about passing couldn't pass nothing, couldn't even pass a cup of water.
That's right.
It was that day. It was a super majority. I was just sitting there. And my third year while I was there, I really first 2 years I got beat up on because I didn't vote a certain way. I didn't vote a certain way. So I got looked over. I got left out. And look, I know what the lost and left out feels like up close and personal, because the super majority wouldn't let me breathe or move. And what God said is stay and stand. What did I do? I remained professional, I remained steadfast, and I remained unmovable, because I said, God put me here, and because he put me here, I am safe in his arms, and he is going to make sure that I'm okay. And what you think you're doing to me won't even hurt. God allowed me to make it to the Senate.
Now look at you.
He allowed me to make it to the Senate. When I got to the Senate, the same people who dogged me out, who hurt me, who tried to trip me and trip me up, were the very ones who carried the bill that allowed people to let my people go. God said, let my people. The criminal justice reform bill were the same people who said, I want it passed. And I said, God, what did I do? I know I have your favor, but what did I do? He said, you remain professional, you remain cordial, you remain the light that you are, and there was nothing they could do. They were waiting on you to come back at them in a very negative way, but I never did. And it was only because I said, God, there's nothing I can do but trust you. I don't even know why you have me here. You put me here, so it's apparently for a reason. When I got to the Senate is when I said, okay, God, I'm good. I'm good now, because I understand. Not that you were waiting on me to understand, because you just kept dragging me along. Look, as they say, I was drugged to church. You kept dragging me along through this political space and telling me to catch up, little girl, come on, let's go. We have work to do.
And you're doing the work. And you're doing the work. I'm telling you, I spent the day with you. I saw it up close and personal. You are doing the work. So listen, both of you all shared about your life and your life journey, which is so good, and how you entered into this space, this work of public service. Talk to us, though, about the harmony that you now have to create between your professional, your political life, and your family life, your friends, even like you're still involved in the local church. Both of you you're involved in your parish, you're involved in your local church. And how are you making it all fit? How are you making it, as I say, harmony? You know, I don't use the term balance. I opted out of that term many years ago, because I realized that balance is not realistic, and it's not a sustainable model for living, right? So I opt for harmony. How do we make it fit? How do we make it work? You're a mother. I know I heard you said you're a recent empty nester, Representative Shelly. I heard that. And Tonya, both of you all are married, in ministry, but yet you're serving in this political arena. How are you managing and bringing harmony to these different aspects of your life? Representative Shelly?
I think my first reaction is I'm probably not doing as good a job in harmony as I could.
Okay.
Particularly right now, while the legislature is in session from January through the end of March, 1st of April, depending on who the speaker is. And it's extremely difficult. And when you have all these titles, state rep, senator, preacher, mom, all of it is so hard to find that harmony. And it's not something that comes easily, and it's not something that comes without work. So I would say you have to put, for me, lately it's been boundaries.
Okay, good.
When I leave the Capitol, I barely even answer my phone. Not unless it's family or friends or something I want to do. I can't do business. I don't watch the news because I get enough negativity and politics during the day that my husband knows I don't watch the news. So if something terrible happens, he'll text me. But having to absorb all that negativity at the Capitol, and then to come
home and to keep, and that's so important. And I'm glad you said boundaries. This recently, I pulled back from my engagement on social media. Currently, I mean, I'm I used to be very, very, very active on social media, and I have been pulling back slowly, mainly just posting things and updates about things I'm doing ministry wise. But the actual hanging out, scrolling, commenting, and engaging in conversations, and particularly political conversations. I learned after this last presidential cycle, I just cannot, for my own peace.
That's right.
I can engage. I cannot go there, because I found myself frustrated and arguing with people I don't even know.
Right.
And my blood pressure was up and all that. And then just the constant vigilance, hypervigilance.
Yep.
That we're on because we're constantly taking it in. My husband said to me the other day, he said, I know you're not really watching the news, lady, but I just wanted to tell you, have you heard this or whatever? And so he'll give me a few updates or whatever. But I used to be a CNN junkie. I used to just sit and watch, and I can't. So I appreciate what you're saying about those boundaries. And how
I think I was probably in the same situation during the Obama administration when he was running. I swear I was like every morning I would get up and check the news, like what has happened now, what's happened today, and stress over it. And are we going to get him in office? And and then after that, and we had Biden's predecessor. That was a different. It was the same. It was the same level of intensity. It was just a different feeling. With Obama, we were stressing about getting there, but it was such a glorious moment when he did. And then when the person who came after him came, it was totally different. It was we're just as involved, but what we're getting back is horrible. It is horrible. And it was horrible for my mental health. And my guess is it's horrible for other people's mental health. But I had to stop doing it. I don't post anything about him. I don't say his name if I don't have to. We all know he's horrible. We don't have to post anything else. We all know who he is. And I don't have to post it, listen to it. I'm going to fight for what I want instead of fighting against what I don't want.
Ooh, that is so freeing. You talk about freedom, fighting for what I want rather than fighting against what I don't want. How much that right there just freed a whole bunch of people because we spend a lot of time swimming upstream, right? Fighting against, swimming upstream, which takes our energy and it drains us rather than fighting for what I want, which was going with the current, going with the flow. You know what I'm saying? That's the harmony piece.
Right.
So absolutely. I appreciate you saying that. So thank you. Senator Anderson, how you doing with this harmony thing?
So that's why Representative Hutchinson is a mental health specialist. She has her own business, and because she's an excellent guide. I will say not only set boundaries, and I say this when I say set boundaries, not only do I set boundaries, but I disconnect and I unwind. One, because I'm an introvert. So it was a yes, I am. Shelly, stop it. I am. So I'll
you
tell
have to
you,
hang out with Senator Anderson one time, and you might question.
I will tell you that when my husband and I first got married, or before we got married, we did the personality test. And I'm an introvert, he's an extrovert. He was like, the test is not right. Can't be. I'm an INTJ, and I've been that consistently. Mm-hmm. He's like, this. I think I may have at one time been an IS, but he is like, that cannot be right. Well, he found out after we started pastoring that it is correct. What I found out is that in a leadership program that I was in, the Carl Vincent leadership that they give to a few of us that we attend, Shelly, it did prove that I am an introvert. What the facilitator said is that you are an introvert with a public E. You exert a public E when you have to. So that means when I'm leading worship, when I'm preaching, when I'm singing, when I'm in the public arena, all during the day. When I come home, that is when I disconnect and unwind. So once I get home, like today, I got a 5 p.m. or 5:15 p.m. text from a lobbyist who said, "Hey, I want to talk to you about Senate Bill, whatever." I was like, "Oh, not today. It's Friday." And it's after 5. You had Monday through Friday. As a matter of fact, I just saw you yesterday face to face. Maybe it came up as an emergency for you, but I am off the clock. Okay. And then she says, "Well, call me tomorrow."
Wait a minute. You said something, Senator Anderson. I don't want you to skip over that. You said maybe because that became as an emergency for you, it's not an emergency for me because I'm off the clock. I love that. See, that's that harmony piece. That's that boundary.
Yes. And if this is what I found out. And I know this about people because people are people. They're God's people, but they're people. Whenever you allow them the very space that you're trying to protect.
Wait a minute. You're dropping these little nuggets out. People are people. They're God's people, but they're people. Now, I know that, right? Being a pastor, they're God's people, but they're still right. People.
I have to remind myself that because that a t-shirt I saw on I think it was Facebook. It was, they sell t-shirts from these different, it said, "I love God, but sometimes his kids get on my nerves." So when I say God's people, I have to say to myself, they don't get on your nerves, they're God's people. Well, what I found out is if I allow that space to be interrupted, or my space to be, those boundaries to be overstepped, then I have no space for me. Then there are no boundaries because I just allowed you in every space that I have. We were getting emails on our personal email from one of the constitutional officers. They sent us emails to our state email and emails to our personal email. And I had to say, calling our state phone, calling our personal phone. I said, whoa. This is my personal phone. This is not the phone that you think that the state doesn't pay for. This is the personal email. This is not the boundary that you can cross. Please remove my number. Please remove my email. Because if this is the space I have for my family, friends, husband, if this is the space that I have for them and you invade it, then I have no space. You keep encroaching upon my boundary and then I have nothing. So that's my peace of mind. That's my introvert space. That's my space to regroup, and as an introvert, we need that quiet time to recharge, and then I can come back and give you all I have. But if you take it, I have nothing to give. I have nothing for myself. I have nothing for those, for my family and friends.
Wow. I love that. So both of you all are exhibiting the boundaries that, in my estimation, create the harmony that we all need in order for us to do the work that God has called us to do. And I love the way you all are doing that. So
let me say this to Dr. Alvarado, that when I say disconnect and unplug, I mean that as well. I was in 5 different organizations.
Okay.
When I joined the sorority, I was like, okay, I need to unplug from some of this stuff. They kept pulling on me. It's like, no, I am resigning from this, and this, because now I have this and I have this national position, and that's all that I'm giving my time and space to besides God. That's it. So I unplug and resign.
You can't do everything.
It's not healthy. It's not wellness. It is not wellness. When we talk about caring for ourselves, you cannot have good mental health without wellness. The wellness is the oil change in the car. The wellness is the oil change in the car so that the car as a whole can be healthy and operate like it should. So you can't have mental health without the wellness piece.
No, you
Am
can't.
I right, Madam Clinician? Am I right, Madam Clinician?
Absolutely. It's the thing. It's because it's the holistic living, right, Representative Shelly? And I know you can talk about that being a mental health specialist. You want to say more about that?
Well, I think when we're talking about holistic, we can have our boundaries. We can have we can unplug from the TV and from news. But if you are putting junk in your body, if you are not doing the right thing for your physical self, then your mental health is not going to be right no matter what. If we're in toxic relationships, if we have toxic people around us, if we're all of that has to do, it all comes together. And I can tell you that no one will ever get it perfect, and everybody's different. So everybody's balance and everybody's harmony is different.
Yeah.
And we can't judge people for what their harmony is versus somebody else's.
Exactly.
But just the fact of you scanning your body, your mind, your spirituality, and taking a check of where you are and where you need to be. Nobody's perfect, and everybody has to have a goal to make yourself better.
Exactly.
If you're not always working on a goal, you stagnate and you get depressed. Everyone should. You could be. Biden needs a goal. He's at the top office, but he still needs a goal to go to.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's retirement at some point.
Yeah.
But everybody has to have a goal. And I think when people just sit and are content and they have nothing to work for and they don't work for anything, then we wither away. And I think mental health and physical health and all of that declines. Yeah. So it is,
and oftentimes, Senator Representative Shelly, a lot of times when we talk about goals, we don't often talk about goals as it relates to our health goals. So a lot of times we think about goals when it comes to jobs or career or finances, maybe even hobbies or things like that. But then what are your wellness goals?
I would say for me personally, and this is so I was diagnosed as an insomniac in my 20s. And I have been on a narcotic ever since. And I know this is not good for me to take a drug to have to sleep every night. So probably for the last 6 months, I've been working on getting off of that drug, and I've been off of it for 2 weeks now.
That's a wellness.
I've been praying too.
Yeah, that's a wellness goal.
So we're talking about 20 plus years on the same drug to go to sleep, and now I'm free of it.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Earlier, Senator Anderson.
Can I ask you, Representative Shelly, what did you have to do to get yourself to the place where you've been off of it 2 weeks and you're appearing to be well?
So there was a combination of two things. One, there's a type of therapy called cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, CBTI.
Okay.
I did that, and instead of taking the narcotic, I got a medical marijuana card.
Okay.
And now I'm taking prescription THC to help me sleep.
Okay.
And it is not nearly as draining. I know where it's coming from because I'm getting it from the dispensary legally. And it has helped me tremendously. So
wow.
I've also been on a campaign to try to explain to people how this can be helpful in other ways. But in Georgia, we're not legal, so we don't look at it for any other things. But I think that this has a lot of potential. So I've been trying to promote what for me.
Will you come back on the podcast and we can talk specifically about that issue?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I recently published an op-ed in the AJC just about that.
Okay.
And I would love to come back and talk about it specifically.
Yes. We'll do it. I'd like to drill down on that a little bit more because I know people who deal with insomnia and things of that nature. And so sleep disorders like that. And so I think it's good but the point is you have a wellness goal. and you're doing what you need to do to reach that goal. And that's an area a lot of times when we're talking about self-care, health, and wellness, what people fail to realize is you won't be well if you don't set some goals for wellness, whether that's goals for boundaries, whether it's a goal related to weight loss, whether it's a goal related to internal numbers like your A1C level or your cholesterol. I had a wellness goal last year when I went for my physical at 60. My doctor started noticing my A1C level was creeping up a little bit toward that pre-diabetic range. And I'm like, some of it is age related, some of it is probably hereditary or whatever, but I recognize that a lot of it is related to, diet and things. So I set a goal for myself. I'm not going there, is what I said. And so that was a wellness goal for me. So I have been intentional about what I eat, when I eat, all those kind of things. I was already eating healthy in my estimation, but I knew that there were some things that I needed to I didn't need to let my guard down in some ways that I had begun to let my guard down. But whatever those wellness goals are, we need, and sometimes it may be boundaries like you all talked about earlier, or not being around negativity and stressful situations. So that leads me to my next question I want to ask you all. Being in politics, we all know that it's a very high stress career, and you're a target of a lot of people's criticism. And I know that from being a pastor, okay? Anytime you're living a life where people think they know your life all the way because of what you do, right? We kind of live in a fishbowl in a sense. But we're the target oftentimes of people's assumptions and criticisms. And so how do you all deal with the criticisms and the negativity that come with your political office and your political positions, or the way you vote on matters?
So I'll start with that one, because one thing that Representative Hutchinson said was that people have not set goals. When you know who you are, I don't think that the criticism gets to you as much as it does for people who don't know who they are.
Okay.
Why they have a purpose. What your purpose is for being there. Yes, you may be in a minority, but you still know that I have to fight for the folks who sent me here. The criticism comes, or the lack of the ability to navigate and have a majority does not take you out of the game. It just says that now we have to have another different strategy.
Okay.
One thing that Representative Hutchinson said was people haven't set goals, and they haven't. And comments 9 times out of 10 are, they need to go find something else to do. They have nothing else to do with their life. This is their life, and people absolutely live their life based on the title that they have, and it gets in the way a lot of times. And then it becomes, for me, when I was in the house, it's spiritual wickedness in that place. It's the what is it called? Principalities.
Okay.
So I knew in the house now my headaches, besides the wrong stuff that I was eating, because now I have a wellness goal as far as fitness and eating right. But I knew then that this ain't just that piece of cake I just ate. This is some foolishness that y'all doing in here, and it's a spiritual drain. It's draining, spiritually draining. But
and so how do you deal with it? How do you combat that, Senator?
So what I do is, I don't know, most people haven't seen my office, but what I chose to do in my office is come get this old. I need a new look, because if I'm going to be here, it needs to be something that I can live with. Because once I leave that chamber, I need to know aces. I need a different space to be in. I need a different space to be in other than what the tradition says. Because with tradition most times.
I've been in your office. It's beautiful.
Yes,
ma'am.
I've been in your office. It's beautiful.
Oh, I had
surprised when I came into your office to see. It felt like I was in like a little retreat center or something.
Somewhere else. It was not. And so that's for my wellness. That's for my mental wellness. That's for my mental wellness.
So your space and your environment.
Yes, because who's not here is all.
And the
right, who's not here is the other 55 of y'all. That's who's not in here. Plus 2 or 3 or 4 of y'all going up the constitutional ladder. Who's not in here is the other 55 of y'all. And so I created that, and I allow my friends to come in, people who I'm comfortable with, people I know mean well. And I pray over it every morning. And when I walk in, there's diffusers going with the scents. And So I created that space for me. And then and even for everyone else who comes in, I still have a door that I can close. And when I go in that door, it's still an oasis. It's still my personal space that says, all right, woo, I can take my shoes off. I can walk around my office with socks on, or with just barefoot. I can do that in my space now, because no one gets to come here unless I say. So that's one of the ways that I deal with it. Besides, now I need to get in my word.
So in other words, you don't bring the negativity and the criticism with you into your personal space. That's what I'm hearing you say.
Not even to my suite, because at that point, you can exit. Jesus loves you, but I'm gonna need you to exit right now.
It reminds me of, years ago when I spent more time in my office at the church, because now with the pandemic, I do most of my work from home, and I go into my church office a couple of days out of the week. But listen, I'd say all the time, once I pull into that driveway and that garage door goes down behind me, everything else, it's like speak to the hand, baby.
Hello.
I really don't care.
Absolutely.
And I think too, for me, besides the Bible, the word, I can put my music on. Because at some point, I really have to woo-saw and let go and let God. Woo-saw and let go and let God, because what I learned, what the Holy Spirit taught me, was not to take things personally. When it gets to that point, then you're defensive, you're combative, you're all those things that they really have already labeled you to be, but so you have to be intentional about saying, I'm not taking it personally. Representative Hutchinson can come to my office and scream and throw stuff and do whatever she wants to do, but at the end of the day, when she leaves, she's going to feel better, because I've created that space, and then I've said, this is a safe place for you to do that. There's no judgment, because I've been there, but I had to learn how to do that with just being in that space. And now that I found it, I choose not to give it away.
Wow. I love that. You keeping your power. You choosing not to give it away. Representative, share one of the things that you're doing to help you manage. I heard you say one of the things when you said, I don't listen to the news.
And I want to echo what Senator Anderson said earlier, is when you know who you are, the criticism doesn't matter. I know when I die, I know where I'm going.
Yeah.
And I know that I live my truth, and I know that I fight for what's right. For example, when we were talking about that immigration bill earlier, when they were debating that bill, the whole discussion was illegals and illegal aliens. And I have dropped a bill more than once to change illegal alien to undocumented person, because what I do know is there is no child of God that is illegal or an alien. So when I'm listening to that, and I know I have to vote, when I press no, I say out loud so people can hear me, y'all going to hell by yourself. No. I'm not going to hell with you. So consciously, it doesn't bother me. But I will say this. After being there for like my first year, I started having problems with my stomach and acid reflux and things like that. So I may not consciously feel it at the moment, but I do know that I feel it internally. Wow. So that's when I start moving towards my goals of harmony, because I know, like, consciously, I don't care what you do or what you say, because I know who has my back. And it's not you. And I know that, and I'm okay with that. I can tell physically that it bothers me, but consciously, y'all going to hell by yourself. I mean, this whole place is like Satan surrounds it. And I know that when I walk in. I know when I walk in, I know what I'm going into, and I don't care what you say about me. In fact, if you think I'm wrong, I must be right. I must be right. So that doesn't bother me, but I do know that internally it does, and I try to pay attention. So I do yoga. I've done yoga for so long. I'm a registered yoga teacher. I don't teach it. I've just had all the hours logged in.
Okay.
So, yoga, mindfulness does help. At night when I go to sleep, I turn on like rain or wind or something that will put me in a different place.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a constant goal, and it will always be a constant goal, whether I'm a state representative or whether I'm teaching Sunday school. So it's a constant goal that we always have to keep your mind on. So spa days, yoga, spending time with the people who you like, your family. I'm so proud of my kids. So I put a lot of effort into them. I've been with my husband almost 30 years now. There's no surprises here. I don't have to pretend after 30 years.
I'm a recent grandma, so I'm with you. I put a lot of energy into being proud of my kids. I'm proud of mine. I'm proud of my marriage. No marriage is perfect, but my husband and I, we've been rocking for almost 31 years. And that's what I take a lot of my solace in. I like you. They're all arenas have its stuff that comes with it, but I try not to internalize it, and I focus on the things about my life that I enjoy, you know. And I think that's what we all have to do. You ladies have been, the way you've talked about how you nurture your mental health, your physical health, your environment is so encouraging. And I know that even women who are listening to us who are not in the political space, but we're leaders, or whatever work we're doing, just being moms, or just being women, whatever, these principles are things that we have to take into account, because women, I like to say, we rule the world, right? Okay. We run the world. They say it's a man. What your Uncle Jimmy say? It's a man's world, but it wouldn't be nothing without a woman or a girl, right?
Yes.
Right. So we run the world. And so, but thank you so much, both of you, for taking the time to come on this podcast and just share. It's good to hear from our political leaders and to hear from women like you who are in the trenches doing the work, but also modeling what it means to be healthy and doing the work, right? To be healthy and whole, spirit, soul, body, as we do the work, because we can become toxic. We can take in the environment and become poisonous and toxic. And I appreciate having sisters like you who are positive, even though you might be in surroundings that aren't, but you're the light in the darkness. And I appreciate you all being that. I want to say thank you for putting it on the line, for getting in the game, for, not just talking the talk, but walking the walk. I really, really, really appreciate both of you for coming on. I'm going to let you both give one last word of encouragement, right, to a woman that might be listening to us politically, that may be thinking about politics. Just one word of encouragement that you can give a woman that may be listening to us, that may even be in politics, that's struggling in this area. But I do want to say, for those of you who are listening, you are listening to the Harmonize Your Life Conversations on Self-Care for Women of Color podcast. I am the host, Dr.Toni Alvarado. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us on YouTube, on my YouTube channel. I want to invite the ladies that are listening to join us in the Harmonize Your Life Women's Self-Care Network. That's the network that I host and facilitate these kind of conversations from. You can join me in Tea Time with Dr. Toni Alvarado. Every month, every fourth Sunday, I host Tea Time with Dr. Toni through the Self-Care Network. Also, ladies, I'm going to pull up here and add. I want to play something here that I think you all will benefit from. And I want to invite you to join me at the Harmonize Your Life. One of the objectives of the Harmonize Your Life Women's Self-Care Retreat is to provide women an opportunity to travel, rest, renew, refresh, and experience the beauty of other places in the world. Therefore, I am excited to announce the 8th annual Harmonize Your Life Women's Self-Care Retreat will be hosted in beautiful Costa Rica.
I feel like I want a prize.
Pack your bags and join me January 9th through the 13th, 2025 at Dreams Las Mareas Resort and Spa, set within the tropical rainforest on Playa El Jabo, with lush landscapes and stunning views from every corner of the resort. Come with your sisters, mothers, aunts, daughters,
nieces, and girlfriends to be coached, trained, and taught by women who are professionally qualified to help us strategize and create the harmonious lifestyles we need and desire. Because harmony doesn't just happen, we make it happen. Get registered today. Take advantage of early registration discounts. Make sure you have a valid passport because we're taking the Harmonize Your Life Women's Self-Care Retreat to Central America in beautiful Costa Rica. Don't miss it.
All right, ladies.
That's amazing.
Y'all come on with us to the Harmonize Your Life Retreat. January 9th through the 13th. We still got a few rooms available. So y'all get on in here and get your deposit in so that you can join us and harmonize, get your year started in harmonizing your life through self-care. Ladies, will you all give us just one word of encouragement, just one last thing you would like to leave with the women as we sign off? Representative, I'll let you start.
I would say you can do this. You can do this. And I know sometimes setting goals might seem daunting, but set a really small one. Like if you didn't go outside and feel the sun on your face today, make that goal to go outside and get sun on your face tomorrow. The goals don't have to be huge. They can be small, but when you start building on those small goals, you will get there. And if you are interested in politics, or are you in politics, there is a lot of support, and Google my name, contact me if you would like some support, or if you need referrals, or if you just need to talk to me about something. There's a lot more support than people think. It is a very difficult job, but as awful as it has been and can be, I don't have any regrets. I know that this is where God wanted me to be. So follow your heart and set a small goal for tomorrow. Even if you are on your game and you feel like, there's nothing else you can do, there is something else you can do tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Read a chapter of a book, something. Mm-hmm. So set a goal for tomorrow if you don't have one for today.
Wow, that's good. I love it. Senator Anderson?
So I'll piggyback on that since the clinician started, and I will say, make that goal. Set the goal as far as part of a healthy lifestyle, whatever it is, create it. It can be, the small goal can be that, but make it healthy and find the support that you have, because we have that strength. And I talked about that today as Women's International Day. You have that strength. You have a vocal strength and you have a quiet strength. Learn to use which one when it's necessary as you set those goals for your healthy lifestyle. And again, politics may not be for everyone, because I say this, I've been in both arenas. I've been in the pastor and in the politics at the same time. And I tell folk, don't raise your hand. If he didn't call you, wait to be called, because it is a calling. At the end of the day, create that healthy lifestyle space and set the goals as Representative Hutchinson said, and know that, you have that strength to do it. And we need you. We need each other. We really do. As Black women, we definitely need each other. We need each other. Seek that support in as you do.
Yeah, absolutely. Good. Thank you both so much. I'm going to have both of you back on individually. We can talk a little bit more. Representative Shelly, I'm definitely going to have you come back on and talk to us about what you're doing, the work that you're doing, and your own personal journey with the medical marijuana and how it's helping you with your insomnia. Representative Tonya, I'm going to have you back on, because we're going to talk a little bit more about advocating for women's health and things.
Yes.
And so how we can get involved in that space. I really, really, really want to be able to do that. Thank you all for listening to us. We went over just a little bit. My son says, Mom, podcasts don't need to be over an hour, but yes, it does. It does, because we got some stuff to talk about. And so, but anyway, I thank you all for being with us this week, and thank you for hanging with us. This is our 4th year now, with the month of March, the 4th year of this podcast. And so as we continue now in launching it throughout this year and continue these conversations, please email me at hello.drtonialvarado.com and let me know about any topics that you would like for us to explore. Let us know if there's topics that we haven't explored that you would like for us to explore on the Harmonize Your Life podcast. We appreciate you working with us and listening to us and sharing this podcast conversation. And we look forward to seeing you again next month, in the month of April, for another round of podcast conversations on the Harmonize Your Life podcast. See you soon.